I don't really party. I don't drink. I quit drinking I just realized I just quit drinking like a year ago.
Hmm.
My wife quit drinking a year ago. I don't eat junk food. I'd never smoked. I've never done any drugs. Everything I do is either comedy or business, like comedy business, family and fitness. Everything I do is that,
Hmm.
is a function of that. And I just really started to strengthen everything from my mind to my fitness, and then great things have happened since. But it's been a long journey, my friend. It's not. It
Yeah.
wasn't. I made more. I It took me 5 years to make more money than I used to make at the bank. And for the first couple years, I was making I don't even know, maybe like $800 a month, man. I have no idea.
So yeah, I mean, you grinded it out for years then to make
For
it work,
years,
to make it
one
happen.
hundred percent. Now I'm a hero. Uh, but the first couple of years were very tough.
Well, welcome to the show. Nathan Newberry here, your host. I got Stefan Dyer here on the line here. We're super stoked to hear his story and understand a little bit about how he's a high performer. Stefan, super stoked to have you on the call here today, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the invite, and I hope I can pay you a visit in Washington State pretty soon.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Well, starting off here, what's the definition of a high performer? Like, help me understand your version of what that really means to you.
To me, I always go back to Tony Robbins' quote: "I used to achieve to be happy, now I happily achieve." To me, it means assessing what you really want to accomplish and then doing it, but not at the expense of fulfillment and family
Hmm.
and fitness, which are priorities for me. So I have three things that I just do all the time. I do comedy and business, family, and fitness. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything that I do is a function of that. So it's achieving, but doing it in such a way that you don't betray your values.
Love that. Love that, man. Well, tell us what you got going on right now. Like the audience wants to hear what's the success that Stefan has got to. I know you're a comedian, you're a family man, you're prioritizing your health, family, which are amazing. But what are you doing right now? What's the success you've landed at right now? Like we're all interested here.
Well, my priority right now, after a VIP coaching weekend with Dan Martell, our mutual friend, about a year ago, I decided to solely focus on comedy. And since then, I've gained 100, 150,000 followers in the last year.
Amazing.
I've toured all of Canada, did a few states in the States, filmed two comedy specials in English, gonna film a couple more in Spanish next year, launched Latin Comedy Fest in Montreal. This year is the first year in Montreal and the fourth year in Toronto that I produced with my business partner. And March of next year, we're going to do our first Euro trip touring all of Europe doing comedy in Spanish for the growing Hispanic immigrant audience there.
Amazing. Dude, you got a lot going on. You're a high performer, entrepreneur. Super stoked to hear that you're crushing it in all those areas and got some big vision for the future. But this wasn't this is like the 10.0 of you. I mean, it
No,
didn't
it's
always start here. Like
still 2.5. I haven't even, I'm not even close yet.
I love it. I love it. Big dreams here. I mean, where did this all start though? Like bring us back to the beginning here of like how you got into this gear to focus on your dreams and accomplishing it, because so many people have dreams, they just don't do anything about it, or they just stall out somewhere. What happened? Where were you at? Help us paint the picture of like what got you into that gear to get you on this path to the success you're on now.
Yes, so I was born in Costa Rica, lived in different Latin American countries, El Salvador, Mexico. My family's from Peru. Moved around a lot when I was a kid. Went to boarding school in Montreal for high school, then came to Toronto to do finance. And then in 2010 started working at Scotiabank in Toronto. I became one of the youngest senior managers in the bank, and then in 2017 I quit to pursue my professional career in comedy. It was very challenging at the beginning because I went from making six figures to no figures overnight, but I just had this feeling. I quit with my best friend, same day, same time. And the next day we went on a 3 week tour through Miami, Costa Rica, and Colombia. He's my business partner now. And since then, we just have this like relentless hunger to
Hmm.
learn and teach and entertain and grow. So we built a bilingual public speaking and comedy school. We have the corporate side of the business where we do a lot of corporate comedy shows and public speaking workshops. And then we have our comedy careers, and we have the comedy festival, which is the largest all Spanish North American stand up comedy festival.
Hmm.
And basically 33 comics that we fly in from Latin America, 4 nights in Toronto and Montreal. And yeah, it didn't start off like that, but if you continue reading and having great feedback loops and having mental clarity because you go to the gym or you exercise and you have clear goals and you understand how to deconstruct those goals and get after it every single day and feed your mind and feed your body, it's only a matter of time that if you build these habits, you accomplish a lot of these goals.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it sounds like you, at the very beginning, you were always driven, to succeed. I mean, it sounds like you got a degree to be able to get a position in the bank,
Yeah.
right? So you were driven in academics at the beginning. Maybe you did some sports growing up. Like,
Yeah.
what
Played
kind of
high level
helped?
soccer and,
Yeah,
and rugby all my life.
yeah. I mean, maybe people watching this now, but Stefan's really like 7'1". Just people don't even know it. No, I'm joking.
I'm actually I'm actually 5'6", 5'7", so your typical shorter Latino soccer player.
But in rugby, man, I mean, those guys are like crazy.
No, because the scrum half, number 9, the quarterback is small.
Yeah.
The quarterback, the one who's always passing the ball, is small and quick, and you got to be able to use your feet. So all that soccer experience was came in very handy.
There you go. So, I mean, you've been team sports, you've been driven to perform not only athletically, but also like mentally, because you got to have your game and your wits about you, especially when you're working, and having to kind of figure out some ways to strategically climb the ladder there.
Yep.
But then, what was the moment that you threw in the towel and say, "Forget this corporate life. I got to go all in to fulfill the dreams." Like, where were you at? Like, what was that discussion like? That feeling like? Like it wasn't maybe it was a Hollywood moment where you put like the knife in the tire and you gave the bird to your boss and you bounced and it was like the music playing in the background and you're like but like bring us to that moment, like that big shift, because that I think is maybe probably the catalyst moment in a way of like going a direction that everybody goes down to with high performance to shifting completely toward the dreams that you had. Because that's a big moment. Like most of the time, people are super scared and freaked out to throw in the towel with something that's steady and secure. I mean, were you married
Absolutely.
at that time too? Like that could have probably been scary too for your spouse.
A few months later, a few months after I quit, I proposed to my wife.
Okay.
So it was we were already living together, but so essentially I started doing public speaking through Toastmasters in 2012 while I was at the bank. 2014, I did my first open mic, and then for 3 years, me, my business partner, who wasn't my business partner at the time, just we were just doing comedy together, and three other friends started doing stand up, and we sucked. Did a show every 1 or 2 months, but we were just hooked, man. And I just had like a feeling that if I really put my mind to it and was consistent, like the rest of the things that I had pursued, I could be really good at it. In 2013, I had started doing Vine, which was like the TikTok for old people, 6 second videos, loops, and got some viral stuff there. Had 14,000 followers back in the day when it was a lot. And I just felt like I could do something, but I didn't have the evidence to show it.
Mm.
Started improving a little bit in 2016 once I started taking a workshop and reading books and reviewing my videos on stage. And then 2017, once we started getting some traction, my business partner would be like, dude, let's quit the bank and do this for good. I'd be like, nah, man, this is crazy. Why? Like, it would just be a total disservice and to our families, paying for our education. We have like jobs that all our friends would like love, the immigrant dream, living downtown, condo life, partying, traveling, and we're gonna just throw it all away for this. But we started getting better, man. I got this Coca-Cola deal, 13 videos for all of Latin America, sketch comedy. I was writing, directing, and it was like small skits, but still it was a big deal.
Mm.
And essentially, I spoke to my girlfriend, now wife, and I was like, "Would you support me if I quit?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I quit in April 2017, and the things that really impacted my decision were the prospect of things being so predictable just ate me away. I knew I
Mm.
was going to become a director, a VP in the bank, but I knew that I was always going to regret not taking that step. And
Mm.
even if I did well, I would always be looking at other comics and people and artists and entertainers and creatives and thinking, fuck, what if that was me, man? It would just eat me alive. Even now, speaking about it, it would just, I remember when I got
Yeah.
senior manager and manager, it was like a big deal because I was so young. But ever when I saw comics in the newspaper, I'd be like, fuck, I wish I was them. And then the other thing that really, really drove me was what's the worst thing that can happen? And the worst thing that can happen if I quit my job is I got to work at Starbucks. That's the
Hmm.
best, dude. That's the epitome of privilege. That's like,
Right.
you know how many
The
people
risk
back
and
home?
reward is not
Yeah,
that
man.
risky.
Like, you know how many people? Because if I was in Costa Rica or Bolivia or Syria, I would tell you, no, I can't do a career here because oh, if I was in New York or LA or Toronto or Chicago, maybe I could. But I was here.
Right.
I was my excuse. So that really drove me. And lastly, I was just thinking like if my dad could have done what he wanted to, he would have been a veterinarian or something else, you know. He just didn't
Mm.
have the option because he became a dad when he was like 19. And my mom
Mm.
as well. So what's my excuse? And we just jumped, man, and it's been 8 years.
How did you flesh that out? Like, was this like a long time journaling? Was this like discussing it with people? Like, how do you process and then kind of jump? Like, I know high performers have different ways that they flesh this out and making decisions. It's whiteboards, sometimes
Yeah.
pros and cons. Like, how did you come up with making this assumption and clarity moments with things?
Well, I spoke to my wife September 2016, and I gave myself like 6 to 8 months to plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I left all the doors open, did all the things at work that I needed to do in case I needed to come back. So I wanted to have a plan, like a solid plan B.
Mm.
Also, I saved up $44,000 back in the day to buy myself a year in case this didn't work out. And lastly, I started teaching workshops, public speaking through comedy workshops before I quit. So that would be like a little bit of income plus the shows plus the savings. Let's see what happens. And I realized that failure was not a lack of success. I really thought that failure would be not trying. And if I had to come back to the bank, I would still be a better person, entrepreneur, professional, and everything
Right.
because I'd done it in the real world or try it in the real world. So I just started to read a lot of books and learn from the goats, from Tony Robbins, from Tom Brady, from Steph Curry, and everybody who's accomplished Oprah, who's accomplished insane things and just under like try to really analyze and break down what's behind because engineering, basketball, football, personal growth, comedy, it's all the same. You still have habits, discipline, consistency, treating your body right, treating your mind right. So what's behind the facade? And then I copied that blueprint and applied it to my. I always joke around, but I'm real. I'm serious that I'm a high performing comic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I
um
love that I mean, you strategically put together a plan. You hedged for the worst, like you accounted for
yeah,
like you accounted for a lot of things financially. Relationally, who's going to be there to support me? Are we all in, or you got the buy-in from people that you cared about most, right? And then you also prepared yourself. You didn't go blind by looking at keeping sure the plan B is open. So if like worst case scenario happened, you could probably come get back your job or something probably pretty quick, right? So you're able to hedge for that financially. You prepared months ahead of time. So if you had zero, you're able to have that runway, which is smart. Then the other thing that you really turned into, and tell me if I'm missing anything, but you're really like shifting into gear in a sense of like, I got to figure out how I need to do this. Like, I'm going to plan this. What's the books? Who's the mentors? Who are the people that I need to know? And what's the information I'm lacking here to make sure that when I'm going out to succeed, even if I'm now given my time to do it, so that I have this plan and this blueprint. And that I think is most of the time people don't have that. They have the Hollywood moment where they're
yeah,
just given the bird and bounce it without the hedging,
yeah,
and then they shoot themselves in the foot, and then they say, "Okay, I tried my dream at one point, but it backfired after 2 weeks." When they didn't plan.
yeah. And now I'm a genius. Now everybody's like, "Oh, what a cool story!" But 7 years ago, I was a loser to everybody. But it's only crazy until you do it. A lot of people ask you, "Why did you do that?" And then they ask you, "How did you do it?" Like my business partner says. One thing that really helped me out, talking about the hedging, I also made sure that the day I quit was the day after I applied for my citizenship. So I was like, had
Mm,
the Canadian passport and couldn't be deported or get kicked out or didn't have to leave Canada.
yeah.
So that was big. But one thing that really helped me out. So the next day we went on a tour to Miami, Costa Rica, and Colombia. And in Miami there was this guy. I told him several times of how it helped me, but it just really meant a lot to me at the time. We were at Wynwood in Miami, like that graffiti thing alley, like little place. And he was like, guys, because he had a rough patch and now he's killing it in business. And he's like, guys, you know that it's not if you're gonna make it, right? It's when you're gonna make it.
Mm.
You're gonna make it. It's just a matter of time. So it's like, when are you gonna make it happen?
So the belief in him from him
Yeah,
was really kind of installing in you that belief that you needed, that you can make it.
yeah, and he was already over the hurdles. He's on the other side. He'd
Mm-hmm.
done it. He had like these a bunch of stores. He has like a bunch of things. Good family, wife, daughter, and just him like matter of fact looking me in the eye and being like, "It's not if you're gonna make it, it's when."
Mm-hmm.
So get to it. Put your head down, work hard, and make it happen. Because you don't have 15 years. You got to make it happen now, or in one, or in five, or in seven.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I was like, okay, what do I have to do? What would need to be true, like Dan says? What would need to
Mm-hmm.
happen so that I make it real and I can become one of the best comics or actually just have like make a living. And a lot of people who were funnier than me on paper, had more experience than me on paper, had more accolades than me on paper, had quit their full time job to do comedy and had to go back to their full time job because they didn't make money.
Mm.
So I needed to make something extraordinary. And that's why I really got into personal growth and studying the greats to apply those habits into my life.
Yeah. What are those key attributes or habits or standards did you have to install in your life from
Yeah.
that big change and shift?
So very simple, nothing groundbreaking, but Reading, exercise, eating well, sleeping well, journaling, meditation, feedback, looking at my videos on stage and reviewing them, uh, networking, treating my body right in general, and then all these habits lead into other great things. And like Dan says, it's not what you. Sometimes it's not what you do; it's what you don't do. I don't really party. I don't drink. I quit drinking. Like I just realized I just quit drinking like a year ago.
Hmm.
My wife quit drinking a year ago. I don't eat junk food. I've never smoked. I've never done any drugs. Everything I do is either comedy or business, like comedy business, family and fitness. Everything I do is that,
Hmm.
is a function of that. And I just really started to strengthen everything from my mind to my fitness. And then great things have happened since, but it's been a long journey, my friend. It's not, it
Yeah.
wasn't. I made more. It took me 5 years to make more money than I used to make at the bank. And for the first couple of years, I was making like, I don't even know, maybe like $800 a month, man. I have no idea.
So yeah, I mean, you grinded it out for years then to make
For
it work,
years,
to make it happen.
100%. Now
Yeah.
I'm a hero. Uh, but the first couple of years were very tough.
How important was your social media, you know, that helped you create that success that you are right now? How important
Very,
was that?
very good question. So it wasn't until January where it really took off. I mean, for the first couple of
Of
years,
this
maybe
year?
yeah, I had
Wow.
30,000 followers in September. Now I have 150,000 on Instagram and 70,000 on TikTok. And and I had like 18,000 2 years ago, or less than that, 15,000 3 years, 10,000 4 years ago. Didn't really move. And because I wanted to be a big deal or whatever, me and my business partner would hire this, like, in 2017, this company that would go into your Instagram and follow like 1,000 people a day. And then when they followed you, you would unfollow them. And then and we got to like 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, and it was just, dude, it was not a good strategy. And and also because you feel like an imposter. But
Mm,
dude, I've worked so hard to get where I'm at right now. I've studied the hooks, I've studied thumbnails, I've studied videos, I've studied formats, I've studied editing. I've done it all, man, and I keep improving. And now it's like, oh, that's so cool that you got 100. Oh, no wonder you're killing. No, man, I've increased like 100,000 followers in the last 7 months, and all because of hard work and editing, and now delegating the editing because I've done it so much and creating SOPs.
hmm.
So it's played a part, but only recently.
Yeah.
This year has been a big, big thing. I didn't perform outside of Toronto and Montreal in Canada until February because now I have the following to be able to sell out everywhere.
Yeah. What were, if you were going to talk with people at the very beginning of their careers or their success, or they're high performers, they're people that are in their room, they're trying to listen to this, they're trying to figure this out. Maybe they're listening to this on the gym, walking the dog, listening to the car or something. What would be things that you would encourage them to do that would be really important for them to succeed? Because right now I think so many people are scared to go jump into it, or maybe they're in success right now but they also need to be motivated to continue on this journey. What would be some things that you would encourage them to continue on to do, or to do altogether?
I think my one thing would be really work on yourself. Either take the Landmark Forum course, read Think and Grow Rich, join Dan Martell's community, join my comedy coaching, take improv classes, take stand up. Just really work on yourself. Go train for marathons, and the answers will come to you, man. It's insane how the answers come to you and exercise.
Mm.
The best ideas for my videos and my stand up come when I'm exercising. So I don't even exercise just to exercise. I exercise for creativity, for mental clarity, for obviously I want to feel and look good. But yeah, man, just work on yourself, personal growth, read books, do exercise, the basics, and the answers will come to you.
Hmm. What about with network? You had said that networking is a big component of your success. How do you do that? What's your strategies to connect with people or companies to really be able to get in front of those bigger companies or bigger people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would spend a lot of focus in my when I first quit in 2017 trying to network, and I think I've become really good at it because I have high performing friends, people that I admire. But I think if I dissect it, those friends are only a result of who I've become. Like they wouldn't
Mm,
be my friends if I wasn't the person I've become. And this is not like a shot at them. It's just, and neither would I if they weren't cool and
sure.
accomplishing great things. So it's just you try to surround yourself with great people. So now I don't even. I would get super hyped if somebody on Instagram would follow me, or like if I would meet somebody. But now I don't even care about that. I just do me. I stay in my lane, become as great as I can be, and I know those things will happen. I know those connections will happen. I know the best festivals for me will happen. I know Netflix will happen. So instead of trying to like do these magic strategies to get people into my network. I just focus on becoming, and this is more of a recent thing, like two years ago, I guess. It's just becoming the best I can be, and those people will naturally become a part of my circle. However, if you really want to get into it, join, listen to Jason Gaynard's Community Made podcast, and he is the person that connected me to Dan Martell, and how I got to Michelle Falcon, who's also a good friend. And he's connected to a lot of people. So he's the founder of MMT Communities, which I've never been to yet, but I would love to go. And some of the best, Cameron Harold, who's in the group, is part of MMT. Dan is part. A lot of amazing entrepreneurs are part of this networking community, and you can't join if you want to. You gotta like apply or be nominated, etc. But through his podcast, first season Scaling is Stupid, and the second season about connecting, like building authentic relationships, he was like he got named like top 10 networkers by Forbes or something. He has this amazing community.
Jason Maynard is what you're saying?
Gaynard. So Gaiggnard, and then the podcast is Community Made podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah, he
I
has
haven't heard of that guy yet.
he's amazing, and lives in Ontario. That's also how I got to meet Michelle Falcon, who is the founder of Brasa. So yeah,
Tell me a little bit about this. Everyday carry. I was like
everyday
asking
what?
this everyday carry. What are the things you carry around with you? You're leaving in the day, you bring something, you're going somewhere. I know it depends on a lot of people, but what's your everyday? Is it? And I know you're in Canada, but maybe like Americans, they're freaking carrying around guns. They got their knives, they got their phone. I always bring like a pen, and I got a book or a journal. But like, tell me like, what's your everyday carry?
I
What's the
like
things that you
that.
bring?
That's a good question, man. I'm a big fan of AirPods, man.
There
The
you go.
the sound block, like oh, it's not being able to listen to stuff and just loud noises. It just makes me so happy. My iPhone. try to not carry my wallet. I hate carrying stuff. And then that's it, man. Just AirPods and iPhone and wallet if I have to bring it. But that's about it. I used to carry a small notebook for like stand-up comedy notes and stuff, but then I just do it on my iPhone. I It used to be like just too much to carry, blah blah blah. So yeah, but
How do you film yourself with everything? Like, let's take us to the day in the life of where you're doing. How do you conduct your calendar as a high performer? Do you batch days? Do you batch things? Or like,
yeah, good question.
how do you kind of look at your calendar maybe in a year, quarter, year? How do you plan? What does that look like the day in life? What does that look like in a week? Like, help us break that down with how
Yeah.
you get everything done.
So there's a few things in terms of big planning. I do like a yearly planning, and then in front of me I have a big tape like a Kanban board divided by the areas of life. So finance, business, fitness, relationships, spirituality, family, lifestyle, and in those I have like want to do, in progress, and done, and they're color coded with post-it notes. Short term 0 to 1 months, medium 1 to 3 months, and yearly goals. So I have it visually all the time here.
Hmm.
Then calendar wise, I don't do meetings with clients or anybody before 1 p.m. So all day, every day, nobody can access me unless it's like a big deal. Maybe I'll carve out something, 15 minutes or whatever. But it's always creativity, reading, fitness, and whatever, and like high output stuff where I really need to sit down. I try to wake up. I used to be like very like strict about it. Wake up at 5, work from 5 to 7, but now I'm prioritizing getting 8 hours of sleep. Sometimes if I come back from a late show, I'm not gonna be like, if I don't wake up at 5. The other day I woke up at 4 a.m. and worked, but if I don't, it's okay too. And then I always I'm not available to anybody before 1 p.m. 1 to 4, I will be available only on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for calls for clients, and then Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, I don't take any calls or anything with anybody, and purely creativity and high output work. The administrative stuff, if I have to do anything that is purely administrative or that I don't really need to focus a lot, I'll do it like always in the afternoon, because after eating, I'm not as sharp. So I'll leave that in the afternoon. Then big Calendly fan. Well, I just send a link if somebody wants to slot themselves into my schedule for specific things. And when it comes to filming, I have tripod and really good equipment, DJI mic, and then I have two editors for my company, for me and my business partner, which we have SOPs so that they can learn how we used to edit and what we like about our styles. And on the business side, we just have very, very standard proposals. And we've researched a lot the selling piece so that we could just do um, not that many deals a year, maybe, but high dollar
Mm-hmm.
amount deals on the corporate side. Then we have a elite comedy coaching community, very similar to Dan. We started it a couple of weeks ago and have 15 students already. And then shows, which is my priority, where I travel around North America and South America and Europe soon to be able to do that. And then
Cool,
after
man.
5, it's all family, unless I'm teaching at the University of Toronto. I teach a course called Business Presentations and Public Speaking, or if I'm teaching comedy, but mostly after 5, it's always family.
Yeah. How do you? So you're married? Do you have any kids?
I have
You have a
a
kid,
4-year-old son. His
4-year-old
name is
son.
Liam.
Yeah. how do you balance doing work and
Yeah.
then trying to fit everything in and also being a family man, maybe taking your wife on dates? How do you prioritize romantic getaways, time away with your family, vacations, holidays? How do you go about being intentional with that? Because I know many of our mentors that we have and many of the things that we probably already know, sometimes we know a lot, but we aren't always instill it. But how much
Yeah.
is that, with trying to be intentional around that family time and
I
marriage?
think most of the time when if my son is at home, I'm not working because it's harder to focus and I want to be there and we try to do stuff. We
Mm-hmm.
try to have several trips a year, which we pre-plan. And if I have to work in my son this year, it's kind of tricky, but he knows that if I'm here in my little office, I'm typically working. I just try to focus on having plans and doing fun stuff. Like today, my wife took the afternoon off and we went to the movies and we did lunch together. Monday, I'm taking my son to Wonderland to the water park all day. I'm taking Monday off. And then Wednesday we're going to like another thing. Sometimes I take him to like the park or like I so anytime I have a slot and he's available, I'll try to take him or I just take him out of school.
Mm-hmm.
I just try to have like really quality time because sometimes I am traveling to do shows and then that's not possible.
Yeah. It's not always easy to build an empire when you balance things with a family. So anybody that doesn't have a family yet, always get your head down and just crush it, right? Because that allows you to then have options and flexibility when that time does come when you want to prioritize the family more. It seems like, yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing I heard in the podcast is like as opposed to work-life balance or work-family balance, it's like integration. So sometimes, and I try to not feel um, guilty, where it's like, dude, this week I have to go hard at work, but next week I'll go hard at family, and it's not always perfect, but it's okay as long as you're like striving and having quality time and being there and having a good time and being a good example. Like sometimes my son wants to play it in the morning, but I'm heading towards the gym, and I mean it could be cool if I played in that specific moment. But I think that it's a great example for my son to see his dad always being consistent with fitness and
Mm-hmm.
having a better body and life and mental health so that he could be with him and his and my grandchildren eventually. So, yeah,
I
I
love that,
try to be a
man.
good example.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap it up here, man, what are some last things of wisdom that you want to share to the audience here before we jump off today?
I think if some people are considering quitting their life, quitting their job, um, it's not always the right answer. Try to make some money before you quit your job. Don't just be like, I hate this. Because I tried to quit once in 2015 and my boss wasn't in her office. So I couldn't quit. Next day I was like a lot more calm. But I'm happy it worked out that way. Sometimes just like desperately doing something may not be the right idea. On the other hand, I heard once that you either jump or you get pushed. So if you decide to jump, who cares? You're gonna figure it out anyways. And if you don't make money and you have to go back to a day job, that's cool too. My advice would be to continue to really work on yourself, and the answers will come to you, but relentlessly. And most of the times, to be able to relentlessly pursue something, it's always a function of energy.
Mm,
And if you don't eat well and hydrate, you're not gonna have it, and sleep well, you're not gonna have energy. That's why I quit drinking. That's why I don't really go out that much. That's why I read, I eat well, and I try to surround myself by high performers so that I could copy the blueprint and accomplish all the stuff that I want to accomplish.
I love that, man. success doesn't have to be always as complicated as we think about it. It's just being disciplined with the things that we know we need to do and doing them
Yeah, simple
consistently over
scales.
and over. Yep. Well, I appreciate you being on the show with us. I'm going to put down your links in the show notes of everything, but how can people follow you and connect with you further?
Just Stefan Dyer at Stefan Dyer, and go to my YouTube because in a couple days my first English comedy special is coming out on YouTube. So go check it out. It's called
Right
Trans
on.
Citizen.
Right on. I'll put the links down below for you guys to check. But thanks so much for being on the
All right,
show.
brother.
Guys, check on for the next episode coming up here shortly.
Thank you. Have a good one, man.